South Africa, stop everything, because today we're not talking about a speech, we're not talking about a rally, we are talking about something far more personal, a school report. Yes, you heard that right, a matrix certificate, allegedly belonging to one of the most powerful political figures in modern South African politics, Julius Malema. And when that document leaked years ago, it didn't just raise eyebrows, it triggered a national argument about leadership, education, and what truly qualifies someone to lead millions of people. But here's the twist. This story is not as simple as critics claim, and it's not as simple as supporters say either, because hidden inside those grades, inside that awkward interview, inside that uncomfortable moment on television, is a reveal about Malema's character that many people missed. So today, we are going to investigate it properly. Not gossip, not memes. Evidence. Let's begin. First, understand something important. The controversy about Malema's school results did not start yesterday. It exploded in 2008 when he was the fiery young leader of the ANC Youth League. At that time, Malema was already becoming a political storm, a young man from Limpopo speaking aggressively about land, power, and economic justice. Some people saw him as a revolutionary voice. Others saw him as dangerous. And right in the middle of that political war, a document began circulating. A matrix certificate from Molokaneng High School in Seshigo. According to the leaked document, these were the results. Sepedi, E Afrikaans, E Geography, F History, D English, C Mathematics, H Woodwork, G. Now, if you don't remember the old South African grading system, here's what that means. An A was excellent, a C was decent, but an E, F, G, or H, that's hovering dangerously close to the minimum pass level. In other words, the leaked report suggested Malema barely scraped through matric, and when the results began circulating online and in newspapers, critics jumped on them immediately. They said, how can someone with these grades lead a nation? But the story took an unexpected turn, because instead of denying it completely, Malema did something unusual. He admitted it. He said openly, my matric results are not impressive. And that moment revealed something interesting about his political style. Malema rarely runs away from attacks. Instead, he confronts them. Let's go to the clip.
Let's talk about education. It's not really your thing, hey? Studying.
No, it is. What do you mean?
You didn't do well at school.
Yeah, no. What do you mean I didn't well? My matric results, they are not very good. They are not impressive.
Woodwork, what was that all about? I mean, how difficult is it? The nail, the screw, what is it?
No, I didn't choose woodwork. I never chose I wanted to do woodwork. I found myself being allocated subjects. And woodwork to me was mobilization period.
Meaning?
So during the period of woodwork, I will go and do the student politics.
But don't you think you should have been getting a matric?
I wrote matric, I passed with those low marks. And those who attended full year, others failed.
So what did you do well in?
Come in.
Which subjects did you do well in?
I don't remember those subjects.
So history, but what did you do? You can't remember which subjects you did brilliantly in?
I don't, you know, when they published those matric results,
yeah.
I couldn't even remember my original matric results. I had to get a copy and compare.
Why?
There's never been...
you couldn't remember your matric results?
No.
Why?
They're never preoccupied.
I couldn't even remember my matric results.
I was never preoccupied with such things.
So also when I wasn't preoccupied with it either. I didn't do particularly well in matric either.
So when I got those results, for sure I just looked at...
You weren't sure if you failed or not?
No, I knew I passed. And you know how I knew I passed?
No, woodwork and maths. How did you know you passed?
I read in the paper when they write the list of people who passed matric, my name was there. And that's it. So what?
Shouldn't you have been encouraging students to do well in matric?
They must do very well. They must do very well.
But so they definitely shouldn't follow your example?
No. They must not.
You're a bad example.
Yes.
A seriously bad. I mean, you failed woodwork.
Yeah, no. It's okay. They must not follow that. Even my children should not follow that.
Okay.
Yeah, but woodwork, matric results, they don't affect my life. And what I do,
I agree.
They are not relevant from what I'm doing now. Doing my work, don't have a problem. So if you think you're talking matric results and you think you'll bring me down with that and demoralize me,
but people would be wrong if they said you were stupid.
They will be extremely wrong, or but we must not take away that right from them.
Now pause right there, because that exchange is one of the most uncomfortable interviews in South African television history. The journalist pressing him relentlessly. The politician admitting things most politicians would never admit. At one point, the interviewer says something brutal. She tells him, "You're a bad example." And Malema's response? He simply says, "Yes." Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you saw a politician admit something like that on camera? Most politicians do the opposite. They dodge, they spin, they deny. But Malema does something different. He reframes the entire argument. Instead of defending his grades, he attacks the idea that grades define leadership. And this is where the story becomes much bigger than a school report. Because the truth is, Malema's political life started long before he finished school. As a teenager, he joined COSAS, the Congress of South African Students. He became involved in youth political structures while most of his classmates were focused on exams. In fact, according to multiple accounts, Malema failed grade 8 and grade 9 before eventually completing matric. Why? Because he was already deep inside political mobilization, protests, student organizing, activism. So when critics say his school results were poor, they're not wrong, but they're also missing something important. Malema wasn't building a career in mathematics. He was building a career in political combat, and political combat requires a very different skill set: rhetoric, mobilization, charisma, strategy. Now here's where the story becomes even more complicated, because after those poor matric results, Malema did something many critics forget. He went back to school, not high school, university. He enrolled at University of South Africa, one of the largest universities on the continent. Through UNISA, he completed a diploma in youth development, then later a Bachelor of Arts in Communications in African Languages, then an honors degree in philosophy, and eventually he even enrolled for a master's program at University of the Witwatersrand. So here is the paradox. The same man mocked for failing woodwork later studied philosophy. And whether you agree with his politics or not, that transformation tells us something important. Malema is not static. He evolves. He adapts. And that ability to reinvent himself is one of the reasons he has survived politically for so long. But let's return to the real question. Does academic performance determine political leadership? Some people say yes. They argue that national leaders should have strong academic credentials. Others argue the opposite. They point out that history is full of leaders who were not academic stars, but became powerful political figures. And this is where the Malema story becomes symbolic of a much deeper debate in South Africa, a debate about class, education, and power. Because many of Malema's supporters don't see those poor grades as shameful. They see them as proof that he comes from the same struggles they do. He often presents himself as someone who rose from poverty and marginalization, someone who didn't grow up in elite schools or privileged environments. And politically, that narrative is extremely powerful, but critics remain unconvinced. They argue that leadership requires discipline, and that academic performance is one measure of that discipline. So when the leaked matrix certificate resurfaced, it reignited that old argument, not just about Malema, but about what kind of leadership South Africa wants: the technocrat or the populist mobilizer. And whether you admire him or oppose him, there is one thing nobody can deny. Julius Malema is one of the most skilled political communicators of his generation. His speeches fill stadiums. His slogans dominate headlines. His ability to provoke debate keeps him permanently in the national conversation. And none of that came from woodwork class. So when you look at those leaked grades, don't just see numbers, see the deeper story. A teenager who prioritized politics over school, a controversial leader who built a movement, and a man who turned criticism into fuel. Because sometimes, the most revealing thing about a leader is not how they perform when everything is perfect. It's how they respond when the world throws their weakest moment back in their face. And that, comrades, is the real story behind the leaked matrix results. Now I want to hear from you. Do school results matter when judging political leaders? Or should we judge them only by their actions in power? Because this debate, like the man at the center of it, is far from over.